Hello. I request all our guests to please be seated. We will be starting the program shortly. Yes. मैं आपको यहाँ पे ऐसे दिखाऊंगी, you start playing. उसको बोलो कि ये प्ले करना है. They'll put the jam. I request our esteemed guests to please take your seats. We'll start the program shortly. We request our esteemed guests, colleagues, participants to please be seated. We are starting the program now. distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and enthusiastic participants, Namaskar, and a warm welcome to all of you. My name is Dr. Amrita Sarkar. I am a faculty in the Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture, and Archaeology, and it is with immense pleasure and a sense of great anticipation that on my behalf of this university and the organizing committee, I welcome you to the inaugural program of 7th Annual National Conference of Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad in collaboration to Deccan College, Postgraduate and Research Institute on the theme Social Sciences in Bharatiya Perspectives. But before we begin our inaugural program, we feel it's important to pause and acknowledge a truly horrible act that has occurred in Pahalgam recently. What happened in Pahalgam is reprehensible. So many innocent lives were caught in a violence they never asked for, targeted and killed in front of their loved ones. This is not a tragedy we can move past from, and this tragedy is going to haunt us for a very long time. We want to express our deepest condolences for the departed souls and the ones grieving and mourning, and we condemn this unequivocally. We would also like to give our condolence to two of our scholars whom we have lost recently. An alumnus of Deccan College and a stalwart in the field of linguistics, Padma Shri B. Ramakrishna Reddy, who passed away on 23rd April, and also Professor D.P. Agarwal, a distinguished scholar having pioneering contribution to Indian archaeology, archaeometallurgy, and environmental studies on March 24th. I would like to request everyone to please stand in silence for 2 minutes as a mark of respect for all the departed soul. Thank you so much. Please be seated. And now, to invoke blessings and usher in an era of knowledge and prosperity, we would now like to commence our inaugural program with the auspicious lighting of the lamp along with the Saraswati Vandana. I request Kaushiki to please come on stage. And I request our guests, Dr. Dhananjay Singh, Member Secretary, ICSSR, Professor Mangesh Karad, Executive President, MIT ADT University, Pune, Professor A.D.N. Bajpai, Vice Chancellor, Atal Bihari Vishwavidyalaya, Vilaspur, Professor P.V.K. Bhatt, Chancellor, Central University, Orissa, Professor Rajkumar Bhatia, former professor, Delhi University, Professor Prasad Joshi, Vice Chancellor, Deccan College, Srimati Anivita Sonawane, Registrar, Deccan College, to please come and grace the dais. And Professor Sheila Rai, ma'am, to please come and grace the dais.
सार परमा आद्यां जगद्व्यापी वीणा पुस्तकधारिणी अभयता जाड्यान्धकारापहा हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधती पद्मासने संस्थितां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवती बुद्धिप्रदा शारदां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदा शारदां.
Thank you, Kaushiki. That was beautiful. We also regret to inform you that our Honorable Minister, Sir, Shri Chandrakant Patil, will not be able to attend today's inaugural program. Unfortunately, due to the deeply sad and unexpected demise of one of his close assistants with whom he has worked for a very long time, he had to leave yesterday. Late night for Kolhapur. However, demonstrating his deep commitment to this conference, he has assured that he will definitely be present in the valedictory session. He sends his deepest regrets for any inconvenience this may cause, and he looks forward to joining you all later in the conference. Thank you for your understanding. We would now like to play our Maharashtra Geet, and we request all of you to stand up once again.
सह्याद्रीचा सिंह गर्जत शिवशंभू राजा
दरी दरीतून नाद गुंजला महाराष्ट्र माझा.
जय महाराष्ट्र माझा गर्जा महाराष्ट्र माझा. काळ्या छातीवरी कोरली अभिमानाची लेणी
ओलादी मनगटे खेळती खेळ जीव घेणी.
दारिद्र्याच्या उन्हात शिजला
विठ्ठलाच्या घामाने भिजला
देश गौरवासाठी झिजला दिल्लीचे ही दत्तराणी महाराष्ट्र माझा. जय महाराष्ट्र माझा गर्जा महाराष्ट्र माझा. जय जय महाराष्ट्र माझा.
Thank you. Please be seated. The 7th Annual Conference of Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad on Social Sciences in Bharatiya Perspective arrives at a critical juncture. At a time when we are witnessing a rise in divisive sentiments, powers, and intolerance around us, the need for thoughtful dialogue and understanding rooted in our own intellectual traditions becomes even more profound. This conference, with more than 170 papers and special panels on gender and language, therefore gains significant meaning and validity. As the insights from Bharatiya social sciences can offer valuable contributions towards fostering harmony, inclusivity, and mutual respect in these challenging times. Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute considers it an immense privilege to be the proud host of this conference, bringing together such distinguished minds on our historic ground. With that, I now invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Prasad Joshi, sir, to deliver the welcome address.
नमस्कार. योऽन्तः प्रविश्य वाचमिमां प्रसूप्तां सञ्जीवयत् अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. All the dignitaries on the dais, very honorable Rajkumar Bhatia ji, P.V. Krishnamurtha ji, today's guests, Dr. Dhananjay Singh, Professor Mangesh Karatji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the prestigious Atal Bihari Vajpayee Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. A.D.N. Vajpayee ji, Professor Sheila Rai, my colleague Mrs. Anita Sonavane, and many dignitaries sitting in the audience, my colleagues and dear students. This is my great pleasure today to welcome all of you to commemorate this particular event of 7th Annual National Conference of Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad. On behalf of Deccan College and also on personal behalf, first of all, I welcome you to Deccan College. The history of Deccan College does not need any repetition at this occasion. We all know that it is now more than 2 centuries. The institute has played pioneering roles in disseminating the significance of our heritage through main disciplines: the ancient Indian history, culture and archaeology, scientific study of language, that is linguistics, and Sanskrit and lexicography. At every occasion, we remember all our alumni, all our stalwarts, all our pillars who have built this institute and taken it to the high place that it is assuming today. In fact, just few months before, Professor Pramod Pandey was heading the institute. He was at the helm of affairs, and invitation came from Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad, official invitation, that let us have this kind of conference at Deccan College. And we were very happy to host the conference at this particular venue in our prestigious institute. Something occurred in my mind, what we have to do with social sciences. We are doing with archaeology, Sanskrit and linguistics. But I myself got the answer. It is the archaeology which studies the ancient living patterns of human groups with scientific approach, with critical approach. And this institute has immensely contributed to the archaeological study. Probably there won't be any state on the map of our country where archaeologists of Deccan College has not gone and dig the things. So probably this institute is there who communicates the significance in a very critical scientific manner of the human groups, how they lived, what was their culture in those ancient days. So it was quite relevant for us to have this kind of conference in Deccan College. Secondly, another area for which Deccan College is known to the world, that is the linguistics. When Deccan College was revived as a postgraduate and research institute in 1939, the linguistics started from Deccan College. Professor S.M. Katre was instrumental in starting this discipline in the UGC kind of framework. And we all know that language is social behavior. So probably these two things are there. And also third thing is the Sanskrit lexicography, Sanskrit dictionary, which provides authentic literary data starting from Vedas to the 18th century to know our past society, what was the culture, what was the societal phenomena. All this as reflected from the data, literary data that is given in a very scientific manner through lexicography or dictionary. So probably for these three reasons, which are very relevant in the social sciences, we thought that this is the place where we can have this kind of conference, and we requested the authorities of RSVP to please give us an occasion, to give us an opportunity to host the conference. They readily accepted this and things moved. Probably it was planned last year, much before, but due to some circumstances, we had to postpone it, and it is taking place today. So I'm again happy that even if it is delayed for little months, we are here today to commemorate this conference. Especially when we talk about social sciences, other disciplines are commonly known like sociology, philosophy, politics, political science, economics, but to have the significance of archaeology, languages, and Sanskrit literature, we planned this conference. I am very happy that we got overwhelming response from all the participants. As we started planning the conference, we got response from all over India, all the states, many important institutions, colleges, universities. They came forward and we received 178 abstracts. We analyzed them in themes and sub-themes, and also this kind of conference is taking place. What are the highlights of the conference? We have plenary sessions, keynote addresses, and then cultural programs and other things are there. We have 2 special lectures also. There will be one lecture today. Dr. Manmohan Vaidya would be having an interactive session today on Bharat ki Bharatiya Avadharana. Secondly, we have tomorrow another special lecture by Dr. Shamatai Ghonse on the theme of Maharashtra's contribution to social reforms and social studies. So these 2 things are very important. Besides, there will be 2 plenary sessions. One is on languages, language planning particularly, which has gained particular importance in the multilingual situation of India. Second panel discussion is there on topic of gender from Bharatiya perspective. So these things are there. So I request all the participants to wholeheartedly participate in all the programs that will be taking place for remaining 2.5 days here. I'm confident that this conference will have good interaction, exchange of thoughts among ourselves, guidance from the senior and experts who have devoted their study, their life for the study of social sciences. So once again, I welcome all of you to this conference. Stay with us, and all the dignitaries, all the students, and the eminent scholars for coming here. I extend my warm welcome to all of you. With these few words, I would like to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request one of our patrons, Professor P.B.K. Bhatt, Chancellor, Central University, Orissa, to please share a few words with us.
मंच पर आसीन आदरणीय महानुभाव, भाइयों बहनों, सामाजिक विज्ञान जिनको हम कहते हैं, सोशल साइंसेस, समाज को समझने में, समाज को व्याख्यायित करने में और सामाजिक समस्याओं को सुलझाने में समाज विज्ञानों की महती भूमिका है। लेकिन ऐसा कहना चाहिए कि दुरदृष्टवशात हमारे यहाँ जो समाज विज्ञानों के क्षेत्र में शोध और पढ़ाई हो रहा है, वो हम अपने दृष्टि से समाज की ओर नहीं देखते। विदेशों ने हमको समाज के बारे में जो बताया है उसी को दोहराते हुए हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। अंग्रेज़ों के शासन के समय अंग्रेज़ों ने अपनी शिक्षा प्रणाली को हमारे ऊपर थोपा और उन्होंने हमारे समाज के बारे में कई बातें कही। हमने भी उसी को वैज्ञानिक समझा और इसको वैज्ञानिक समझकर उसी को दोहराते आए। आज़ादी के बाद भी समाज को अपनी दृष्टि से देखने के लिए जितने प्रयास होने चाहिए थे उतने अभी तक नहीं हुए। राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद इस दिशा में एक महत्वपूर्ण कदम है। अपने इतिहास के बारे में हम जानते हैं कि ऐसे किस प्रकार इतिहास को तोड़ मरोड़ कर प्रस्तुत किया गया। उसी प्रकार अन्य समाज विज्ञानों के क्षेत्र में भी, समाजशास्त्र में, अर्थशास्त्र में, राजनीति विज्ञान में गहरा भारतीय चिंतन है। बहुत प्राचीन काल से इन विषयों के बारे में बहुत ही गंभीर रूप से हमारे पूर्वजों ने इस पर चिंतन किया है, लेकिन हमारे विश्वविद्यालयों में उसमें उसकी झलक नहीं आ पाती। अगर कहीं पर इसके बारे में उल्लेख होता है तो वो एक नेगेटिव पर्सपेक्टिव से उसके बारे में, जैसे मनु के बारे में एक प्रचार किया गया है कि मनु महिलाओं का विरोधी था, वहीं प्रगति विरोधी था, वो वर्ण व्यवस्था का पक्षपाती था। तो अपने समाज को, अपने सामाजिक व्यवस्था को हमने अपनी दृष्टि से नहीं देखा। मनुस्मृति के बारे में मनु ने खुद, मनुस्मृति में मनु ने ही खुद लिखा है या किसी दूसरे ने लिखा है वो अलग बात है, लेकिन मनुस्मृति में ही एक श्लोक इस प्रकार का है, परित्यजेद अर्थकामो यासाम धर्म विवर्जितो धर्मंचाप्यसको दर्कम लोक विकृष्टम एवच। तो मनु ने कहा कि जो धर्म के विरोध में है ऐसे अर्थ और काम को त्याग देना चाहिए, और धर्म भी अगर समाज के विरोध में दिखाई देता है तो उसको भी त्याग देना चाहिए। तो मनु was never adamant, he never said that whatever I say is the last word and that has to be followed for all times. He also accepted that with changing times, this changing norms and social systems also undergo changes. तो दुरदृष्टवशात हम अपनी दृष्टि से अपने समाज के ओर देखने का प्रयास बहुत देरी से किया है। आज़ादी की लड़ाई तो लड़ाई गई है, और जब आज़ादी की लड़ाई लड़ी तो ब्रिटिश लोगों ने, राज्यकर्ताओं ने कहा कि अगर हम यहाँ से चले जाएंगे तो देयर विल बी chaos इन इंडिया, यहाँ अराजकता फैल जाएगी। तो लोकमान्य तिलक जी ने, जिनके स्मृति से और विशेष करके महाराष्ट्र में बहुत महत्व दिया गया है। भगवान के रूप में हम उनको मानते हैं। उन्होंने कहा वी प्रिफर अनार्की टू ब्रिटिश रूल। तो अनार्की हो वो बड़ी बात नहीं है, लेकिन ब्रिटिश रूल हमको नहीं चाहिए, इस प्रकार उन्होंने कहा है। सामाजिक विज्ञानों के क्षेत्र में इस प्रकार के आज़ादी की लड़ाई अभी लड़ी जा रही है। हमको अपने सामाजिक विज्ञानों को, समाजशास्त्र कहिए, अर्थशास्त्र कहिए, राजनीति विज्ञान कहिए, इन विचारों को, ये जो चंगुल है विदेशी ताकतों की, इस चंगुल से इसको छुड़ाना है, मुक्त करना है। अपनी दृष्टि से अपने समाज के ओर देखने की ज़रूरत है। अपनी कुटुंब व्यवस्था हो, जाति प्रथा हो, ग्रामीण व्यवस्था हो, राजनीतिक शासन हो, इन सब के बारे में भारतीय चिंतन जो है, भारतीय विचार जो है, उसके आधार पर अपने समय सभी सामाजिक विज्ञानों को खड़ा करने की बहुत महत्व की आवश्यकता है। इसी उद्देश्य को लेकर 2008 में 2008 यही रामभाऊ माड़गी में एक समाजशास्त्री और समाज विज्ञान के क्षेत्र के प्राध्यापक छात्रों का एक सम्मेलन हुआ, जिसमें यह निर्णय लिया गया कि सामाजिक विज्ञानों को अपनी दृष्टि से देखने के लिए, हमें विश्लेषण करने के लिए हमें प्रयास करने की ज़रूरत है। इसी के फलस्वरूप राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद की स्थापना हुई है और पिछले 6 अखिल भारतीय अधिवेशनों में कई विचारों को लेकर हम लोगों ने चिंतन किया है। अभी 7वां अधिवेशन यहाँ पुणे नगरी में हो रहा है। इस पुणे नगरी में के लोगों ने, यहाँ के विश्वविद्यालय के प्रमुख लोगों ने इसको बहुत आत्मीयता से, बहुत प्यार से इसको आश्रय दिया है। उन सबको मैं धन्यवाद प्रकट करते हुए आप लोग यहाँ पर उपस्थित हुए हैं। इस 3 दिन के अधिवेशन में हम इन सभी विभिन्न पक्षों को के बारे में, भारतीय चिंतन क्या है, भारतीय चिंतन के आधार पर इन सभी सामाजिक विज्ञान क्षेत्रों के बारे में किस प्रकार का चिंतन, किस प्रकार का विचार विमर्श होना चाहिए। और यह एक राष्ट्र के लिए, अगर राष्ट्र वास्तव में आज़ाद बनना है तो अपना चिंतन भी आज़ाद होना चाहिए, अपने विचार की दिशा भी आज़ाद होना चाहिए। एक दृष्टि से आज़ादी की लड़ाई का एक दूसरा कदम है। इस प्रकार इसको मानते हुए यहाँ के खास करके जो एक पुणे शहर और महाराष्ट्र की भूमि आज़ादी की लड़ाई में जिस प्रकार की महती भूमिका उनकी रही है, सावरकर का नाम तो हमको तुरंत याद आता है, और भी कई लोग जिन्होंने आज़ादी के लिए अपना आत्मार्पण कर दिया, उन सभी का स्मरण करते हुए सामाजिक विज्ञानों की आज़ादी की ये लड़ाई जो है, इसमें हम सब लोग बहुत सक्रियता से भाग लें और समाज विज्ञानों को भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य में प्रस्तुत करने का ये जो अपना यज्ञ है, इस यज्ञ के में हम सब लोग सहभाग हो इसी विनंती के साथ मैं अपनी 2 छोटी सी बातें समाप्त करता हूँ। नमस्कार।
Thank you so much, sir. We would now like to introduce our dignitaries on the dais and felicitate them. The first person is our guest of honor, Dr. Dhananjay Singh. I request my colleague Gopal to please introduce him.
Thank you, Amrita. First, I would like to welcome Professor Dhananjay Singh. Professor Dhananjay Singh is the Member Secretary of Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi. He also serving as the Director, Additional Charge of the National Council for Promotion of Urdu Language, New Delhi. Professor Dhananjay Singh had pursued his education in English language and English literature and had contributed in the same field. Professor Singh started his teaching career at Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi in August-September 2006 and thereafter taught at Satyavati College, University of Delhi. From September 2006 to December 2007, he joined the Center for English Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, as a faculty in 2007 and headed the center as its chairperson from January 2019 to January 2023. He served as the Associate Dean of the School of Language, Literature, and Culture Studies from May 2021 to January 23, 2023. Professor Dhananjay Singh, early in his teaching and research career, has worked as assistant editor in the prestigious project titled The Encyclopedia of Indian Poetics with Dr. Kapil Kapoor as the chief editor, a project of Sahitya Akademi, New Delhi, and Union Academique International, Brussels. He also assistant editor with Dr. Kapil Kapoor as the chief editor of Mutual Regards, Indo-Irish Anthology, a collaborative project involving Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and the University of Ulster at Coleraine, Ireland. He has contributed in the various fields of research that includes literary and cultural studies, Sanskrit poetics, Indian aesthetics, comparative poetics, and English literary criticism. Professor Singh's poems have appeared in literary journals such as Muse India and South Asian Ensemble. Presently, Professor Singh is the president of the Association of Asian Social Science Research Councils. He presented the country at the 24th General Conference on Social and Human Sciences, UNESCO at Paris. He also participated in the Global Forum on Ethics of Artificial Intelligence organized by UNESCO in collaboration with the government of Slovenia at Bordeaux, Slovenia. Professor Singh is the author of the monograph Fables in the Indian Narrative Tradition and Analytical Study, The Poetics of Theatre in Early India, and the forthcoming book that will going to get published soon, The Philosophy of Performance in India. So I welcome to Professor Dhananjay Singh and would like to felicitate Dhananjay Singh. Yes, thank you.
I request Professor A.D.N. Bajpai sir to please felicitate Dr. Dhananjay Singh. Thank you so much. Now, we would like to honor Professor Mangesh Karad. I again request Gopal to please introduce Professor Mangesh Karad.
Hello. I welcome to Professor Dr. Mangesh Karad. He's a well-known personality in the field of education, not only in Maharashtra, but also in India. Professor Dr. Mangesh Karad is Executive President and Vice Chancellor of MIT ADT University, has empowered the organization with quality education in multidisciplinary fields. With his vision of holistic and inclusive development, he has been successful in raising the international standards of education in all spheres and elevating the standard of education in Pune. He is an educationalist with keen interest in specialized engineering niches and has introduced specialized engineering courses like naval engineering, food technology, etc. to transform students in industry leaders. The Atal Innovation Mission is a flagship initiative set up by the Niti Aayog, Government of India, to promote innovation and entrepreneurship across length and breadth of the country. AIC MIT ADT is an umbrella organized and hosted by MIT ADT University to promote the entrepreneurship and innovation. It is one of the first institutions supported by AIM, Niti Aayog, Government of India, at any private university across Maharashtra. Atal Innovation Mission set up by Niti Aayog, Government of India, has granted 10 crore grants to MIT ADT. It is spread over 2,000 square feet, which helps the student to bring startup and innovation promotion of separate startup and entrepreneurship through engaging activities and facilities to develop a startup and entrepreneurship ecosystem. So I welcome to Professor Dr. Mangesh Karad. Thank you.
I would again like to request Professor A.D.N. Bajpayee sir to please felicitate Professor Mangesh Karad. Thank you so much. Next, we would like to felicitate Professor Rajkumar Bhatia. I request my colleague Bansi to please introduce him.
उपस्थित सभी को प्रणाम करता हूं। राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद के संरक्षक प्रोफेसर राजकुमार भाटिया सर, आप दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के अर्थशास्त्र विभाग के निवृत्त प्राध्यापक हैं। अनेक राष्ट्रीय तथा अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संस्थाओं से आप संलग्न हैं। आपका कार्य बहुत महान है और वो सब यहाँ बताना संभव भी नहीं है। इसलिए मैं डेक्कन कॉलेज के कुलगुरु प्रोफेसर प्रसाद जोशी सर से अनुरोध करता हूँ कि प्रोफेसर राजकुमार भाटिया सर का आप यथोचित सम्मान करें।
Thank you, sir. Next, we would like to honor Professor P.B.K. Bhatt, one of our patrons. I again request Bansi to introduce him.
राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद के संरक्षक प्रोफेसर P.B.K. भट्ट सर सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ ओडिशा कोरापुट के चांसलर है। सेंटर फॉर एजुकेशनल एंड सोशल स्टडीज़ बेंगलोर के आप प्रेसिडेंट हैं। कर्नाटक विधानसभा के आप भूतपूर्व विधायक हैं और IGNCA संस्था के आप ट्रस्टी हैं। कोयंदू यूनिवर्सिटी शिवमोगा के आप सीनेट मेंबर हैं और न्याक के आप एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी मेंबर है। मैं प्रोफेसर प्रसाद जोशी सर से अनुरोध करता हूँ कि आप प्रोफेसर P.B.K. भट्ट सर का सम्मान करें।
part of our Felicitation kit, the big jute bag that you are seeing is a kit from the Suhana Masala, sponsored by Suhanas, along with shawl and nariyal and abstract souvenir as well as books. Next, we would like to felicitate Professor A.D.N. Bajpai sir. I again request Bansi to please introduce him.
राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद के प्रेसिडेंट प्रोफेसर एडियन वाजपेयी, मतलब प्रोफेसर अरुण दिवाकर नाथ वाजपेयी, सर का सब्जेक्ट है इकोनॉमिक्स। सर हिमाचल प्रदेश यूनिवर्सिटी शिमला के भूतपूर्व वाइस चांसलर थे तथा अवधेश प्रताप सिंह यूनिवर्सिटी के भी वह भूतपूर्व वाइस चांसलर थे। महात्मा गांधी ग्रामोदय विश्वविद्यालय चित्रकूट के भी सर भूतपूर्व वाइस चांसलर थे। इंडियन इकोनॉमिक एसोसिएशन इस संस्था के सर प्रेसिडेंट है। सर कई संस्थाओं के सदस्य रहे हैं, जिसमें चौधरी चरण सिंह यूनिवर्सिटी, AIU न्यू दिल्ली, NDA पुणे, HS गौर यूनिवर्सिटी सागर। सर के मार्गदर्शन में 29 छात्रों ने PhD प्राप्त की है। सर अनेक पुरस्कारों से सम्मानित है, जिसमें जीवन साधना अलंकरण पुरस्कार तथा कौटिल्य बेस्ट इकोनॉमिस्ट अवार्ड। सर मुझे बोलना है सर अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी यूनिवर्सिटी के वाइस चांसलर है। सर की असली पहचान मैं देना चाहता हूँ। बड़े विद्वानों से लेकर छात्रों तक सभी के प्रति सर आत्मीयता रखते हैं। मानव समाज में इंसान के रूप में जानवर कहीं मिल जाते हैं, परंतु सर को देखकर मानव कहो या महामानव, इनकी पहचान हो जाती है और यही सर का असली परिचय है। मैं विद्यापीठ की डेक्कन कॉलेज अभिमत विद्यापीठ की रजिस्ट्रार मैडम अनीता सोनोनी मैडम को अनुरोध करता हूँ, मैडम प्रोफेसर एडियन वाजपेयी सर का सम्मान करें।
A big round of applause. Thank you so much, sir. Last but not the least, we would like to felicitate Professor Sheila Rai ma'am. I request Bansi to please introduce her.
राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद की जनरल सेक्रेटरी प्रोफेसर शीला राय मैम, सेंट जेवियर कॉलेज जयपुर की प्रिंसिपल है। मैम का स्पेशल सब्जेक्ट रहा है गांधीयन फिलॉसफी। 30 साल तक राजस्थान विश्वविद्यालय के राजनीति शास्त्र विभाग में मैम ने सेवा दी है। मैम के मार्गदर्शन में 40 छात्रों ने अभी PhD की है। मैं डेक्कन कॉलेज अभिमत विद्यापीठ की रजिस्ट्रार मैडम श्रीमती अनीता सोनोनी मैम को अनुरोध करता हूँ कि प्रोफेसर शीला राय मैम का यथोचित सम्मान करें।
Thank you, ma'am. Now we move on to our souvenir publication. I request all the dignitaries on the dais to please release the souvenir which is kept in front of them. It's the souvenir cum compendium of the abstracts of the 7th Annual National Conference of Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad. "178 abstracts, to be precise, coming from each corner of our country, has been published in this souvenir." Thank you, sir, ma'am. We have now the pleasure of hearing Professor Mangesh Karad. Sir, I request you to share a few words with us.
Good morning to one and all. Respected dais, the office bearers of both the organizations, Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad and Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute deemed to be University Pune, Dr. Rajkumar Ji Bhatia, Professor A.D.N. Bajpayee Ji, Srimati Sheila Rai, VC of the Deccan College University, Professor Prasad Joshi Ji, other dignitaries on the dais, Shri Dhananjay Singh Ji, the Registrar of the University, Madam from the Deccan College, all other office bearers who are sitting in the audience, other dignitaries, other VCs, Dr. Shanti Shri Pandit, Madam is here, she is the VC from the JNU, she is here, Dr. Sadananda Moreji is here, who is a great philosopher, thinker, the ex-VC of the Deccan College, Dr. Shindeji is here, and I do not know, the many more are there. The galaxy of the, wise people are here. I'm little odd man out here, but I being the, office bearer of the MIT ADT University, we run the School of Vedic Sciences, and so I am the part of this, this 7th annual National Conference on the Social Sciences in the Bharatiya Perspective. I'm really happy this conference is happening. I was VC. Nowadays, I have stepped down after 5 years. Now, I'm not the VC. But while imparting the education to the new generation and what is happening at a global level with the changing time, I really felt that it is a high time to impart our views, in different domains, not only science and technology, from social science, from Ayurveda, from all aspects, how to behave in the social science, Arthashastra, and whatnot. So on that background, I think this conference is very important. I was going through all the session details. There are 2 sessions, but I'm happy. What I want to say here is that when I was a VC and we wanted to develop each and every student of our university, finally I have to go back to, the Upanishads, the Taittiriya Upanishada, to find out what is the best way to develop each and every student. And I got the formula there, the Panchamay development of Panchakoshas, Manomay Kosha, Anandamay Kosha, the physical kosha, I do not remember the words, all the koshas. And we exactly, we made the formula out of that knowledge, and we are running the holistic development department in our university. Now, every student, what is our purpose? To develop each and every aspect of the student, physical, intellectual, mental, social, all the angles. His energy level has to be high. So we developed the program, and that is now one of the biggest department of the university. I think now the education is changing. Now the private universities are coming. Our previous speaker has rightly said the Britishers, they broken our education system. And in 1832, we were the best. Our education system was the, Gurukul system. Every student used to have the pride in values, in his knowledge, in his skills. But the Britishers, because of their own, mottos and motives, they really broken up our system and they created the Babus. And that is a tragedy. We have to revive our education system. We have to instill that pride of a Indian knowledge system. And I am happy that the government of India has taken a lot of efforts and they are supporting this activity. But I think the private players, every teacher, every student, we have to create more and more awareness. I know in today's era, the people want the profession or the knowledge which is giving more money to them. But we cannot say, because these are the basic values. If we really want to develop some good education system for the whole universe, I think Indian education system can play a bigger role. And that is this Bharatiya perspective, Indian knowledge system will play. So MIT, ADT, and recently when the NAC happened, in the NAC, one of the criteria was what is your distinctive practice at our university. And I am happy to share that they gave the full weightage to the MIT, ADT University. Our distinctive practice was Indian knowledge system. We have the courses in architecture, we have the courses in the design, we have the courses in the, Vedic school is there. We are trying to give the value-added courses to each and every school, around, 10,000 students or maybe more than that. So that, with that motto, if every university try to propagate the Indian knowledge system about all sciences, then it will really instill that education system in our country. It will instill that pride in our young generation, and I think we can certainly gain that position in the coming days. I was reading yesterday, Scotland has what is in our Indian knowledge system. People are getting attracted to the India, to the Indian culture, Indian tradition. Yesterday only I read some news. The Scotland has they have come out with the one law for the Hindu phobia, Hinduism phobia. So I think people are getting attracted to the knowledge or to the thought of our Indian philosophy. I am not restricting this Indian knowledge only to the Hindu religion. It is basically Indian knowledge. So people are getting attracted, and in the longer run, I think Indian knowledge, Indian values, Indian thought is going to survive. And for that purpose, I think we have to be more committed, we have to be more alert, we have to be more dedicated to propagate this thought of an Indian knowledge system. So that is what I can say on this occasion. I am not that, the domain, the expert from the social sciences, so I will not speak much, but I really congratulate Dr. Prasad the Joshi ji, the VC of the Deccan College, and all other office bearers of the Deccan College, and the RSVP for organizing this conference. And whatever way MIT, ADT University can participate, sir, we have a tie-up with you, with the Deccan College. We can propagate. We are committed for the propagation of Indian knowledge system in this period, in the globalization. And finally, when we are developing science, we are developing technology, we are developing, but we are facing the problems of the ecology, of the nature and machine, how to survive in this race. So that is the biggest question. And I think Indian knowledge system will certainly give that answer, will give the answer to the, that great hunger of the people, that great greed of the people, how to prevent that greed. So with that I think we have to look to this, Bharatiya perspective, Indian knowledge system. And with that small views of mine, I will conclude here. Thank you very much, Dr. Joshi ji and others, for calling me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words. Building on the positive momentum, I now invite Dr. Dhananjay Singh to share a few words with us.
Thank you so much. Honorable Krishna Bhattji, Chancellor, Central University of Orissa, Sri Rajkumar Bhatia ji, Professor Shanti Shri Pandit ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, JNU, Professor Mangesh Kharad ji, Executive President, MIT, ADT University of Pune, Professor A.D.N. Vajpayee ji, Professor Prasad Joshi ji, Acting Vice Chancellor, Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, Pune, Professor Sheila Rai ji, Honorable Member, Council ICSSR, Professor Panchanand Mohanty ji, Honorable Member, ICSSR, Professor Prakash Mani Tripathi ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, ANDTU, Professor Shinde ji, former Vice Chancellor, Vasant Shinde ji, former Vice Chancellor, Madam, all Professor Chandrikala Padya ji, and Madam and everybody here, the academics and professors and scholars of the college, and I'm really proud and privileged to be here, to be invited. ICSSR is extremely happy to be associated with this conference organized by the Deccan College in collaboration with RSVP. And I'll share some of my thoughts on what has been correctly termed as social science in Bharatiya perspective. I'm a professor of English, but I've had an opportunity, of course, to think, read a bit and reflect on ideas associated with what is now frequently used as Indian knowledge system, more often uncritically. But that it's a time where this coinage is also extremely important. Its frequency is extremely important. When we talk about social science in Bharatiya perspective, and what is social and what is science, that is something that needs to be rethought about. What is society in our tradition, in our practice? Society के मापदंड क्या हैं, parameters क्या हैं, हम कैसे समझते हैं? Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji, when he thought about integral humanism way back in 1964, an understanding that he wanted to be disseminated was that post-independence, after 17 years, understanding about major questions and the pursuits of solving them remain to be same, remain to be colonial. We are in a similar situation that Bharat was in the 18th century. Till 18th century, there's a lot of work in what is now termed as the Indian intellectual tradition, Indian intellectual thought. In 18th century, there is a break, of course, and there's a finality with Macaulay. What was the reason that a great intellectual tradition with great votaries and writers and thinkers did not protest against it? Of course, there was a continuity in the knowledge creation, but why was there no counter movement to Macaulay? And why has there been no counter movement to the kind of social science that was imposed on the nation post-independence 1947? You will find that there is a intrinsic and intriguing connection. Of course, 18th century, early 19th century, anybody who had achieved any sort of achievement in intellectual pursuits would be given a job, obviously. Job was important, employability is important, and then your terms of jobs are set that you have to work in this particular direction. You have to de-Indianize the intellectual tradition. The same thing happened with post-independence. Of course, social science, the way it was taught in the West, it developed out of an entirely different concept, context, entirely different understanding of the relation between the self and the society, व्यक्ति and समाज. उसकी अवधारणा से पैरामीटर्स बने, मेथड्स बने, मेथोडोलॉजीज बने, आइडियाज का कंसेप्चुलाइज हुआ, मानव का कंसेप्चुलाइज हुआ, मैन, वुमन, ह्यूमन, नॉन ह्यूमन, साइंस, आर्ट, इनकी कंसेप्चुलाइजेशन हुई. हमारे यहाँ ऐसा क्या है? हमारे यहाँ क्यों कोई डिस्टिंक्शन नहीं रहा नेचुरल साइंस में, सोशल साइंस में और ह्यूमैनिटीज़ में? अगर हम देखें तो दो साइंसेज हैं, सोशल साइंस और ह्यूमन साइंसेस। व्यक्ति को जानने की आवश्यकता है, व्यक्ति एंड सोसाइटी, व्यक्ति एंड समाज। नेचुरल साइंसेस ऑफ कोर्स उसका अंग है अगर देखें तो, क्यों व्यक्ति और समाज ही साइंस बनाते हैं। अब एनईपी में हम बात करते हैं कि ट्रांसडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च की बात करते हैं, इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च की बात करते हैं। हमारे यहाँ हम जानते हैं कि अगर वेदांत ने, और मैं एग्जाम्पल लूँगा, देयर आर टू पर्सपेक्टिव। जब हम इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम की बात करते हैं, देयर आर टू पर्सपेक्टिव। One, of course, is the Indian knowledge system contained in a vast storehouse of text. The other is the Indian knowledge traditions that are living realities that are practiced day in and day out by various communities and societies in India. Indian knowledge systems and their manifestations also mean that we study Indian societies, Indian communities, local communities in the way they should be studied, where ideas and practices and structures and methods that emanate out of the living practices of various communities and societies of India. That is why ICSR has made a great paradigmatic change, at least in the last 2 years. If you look at the history of ICSR, since 1969, we have funded around 9,000 projects. I should not talk about myself because I have 2 council members here, and of course with inspiration support of all the universities in India, all great vice chancellors. In the last 2 years, we have funded close to 2,300 projects. In the last, since 1949, 9,000, the last 2 years, more than 2,000 research projects. We also did away with funding research grants on disciplines. We identified areas and we in fact put this across our researchers that research has to be based on लोकल कम्युनिटीज़। अगर भारत को विकसित होना है, अगर विकसित राष्ट्र बनना है, तो लोकल सोसाइटीज़ को एम्पावर करने की आवश्यकता है। चाणक्य की बात करते हैं, एक बात और कहूँगा, और ये दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी ने भी कहा इंटीग्रल ह्यूमनिज्म में, कि हम इंडियन ट्रेडिशन को 2 तरीके से देखते हैं। एक तरह के वो लोग होते हैं जो कि कॉलोनियल माइंडसेट से रिकग्नाइज नहीं करते। दूसरे श्रेणी में वो लोग हैं जो कि ओवर एक्साइटेड तो रहते हैं, बट ये टॉटोलॉजी हो जाती है। हम बातें करते हैं ज़्यादातर कि हम वेद में ये है, उपनिषद में ये है, पुराण में ये है, महाभारत में ये है, और ये कौन करता है? जिससे जब आप लैंग्वेज को ही रिपीट करते रहते हैं, लैंग्वेज को रिपीट वो लोग करते हैं जिनमें भाषा और अर्थ का जो रिलेशनशिप है वो ब्रेक डाउन हो जाता है। इट्स अ स्टेट ऑफ डिमेंशिया वेयर यू कीप ऑन रिपीटिंग एंड रिपीटिंग एंड रिपीटिंग एंड रिपीटिंग। दीनदयाल जी का ये कहना था, और जो क्या ग्रेट थिंकर थे, कि ये कहना था कि भाई 1000 साल में ऐसा तो नहीं कि समाज में कोई चेंजेस नहीं आए, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि भारतीय समाज डेड था। भारतीय समाज अपने तरीके से जो भी आक्रमण थे, और आक्रमण फिजिकल एज वेल एज इंटेलेक्चुअल, उसको नेगोशिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहा था। तो अगर हम ये कहें कि चाणक्य नीति से अगर हम 4-5 यहाँ स्टेटमेंट्स और श्लोक और सूत्र सुनाकर, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, बहुत ज़रूरी है क्योंकि डिसेमिनेट करना है, लेकिन अगर भारत को विकसित करना है तो ये जो टेक्स्ट हैं वो कंटेम्प्रेरी आज की सोसाइटी को किस तरह से रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं, और उसको किस तरह से आप एक तरीके से उनका इंटरप्रिटेशन मोड। हमारे यहाँ टीका की इतनी स्ट्रॉन्ग परंपरा है। नाट्यशास्त्र 4वीं शताब्दी में लिखा जाता है। नाट्यशास्त्र पे एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण टीका अभिनव गुप्त 11वीं शताब्दी में करते हैं। 17वीं शताब्दी में पंडित जगन्नाथ टीका कर रहा है। ये हमारी परंपरा है। पंडित जगन्नाथ और अभिनव गुप्त ने तोते की तरह रिपीट नहीं किया, उससे कुछ नहीं मिलता है। जब तक कि हम इंडियन जो ट्रेडिशन है, इंडियन थॉट सिस्टम, मैं आपको एग्जाम्पल दूंगा ICSR का। हमने ये प्रायोरिटाइज किया है कि सोशल साइंसेज में, सो कॉल्ड सोशल साइंस जो हम कहते हैं, जिसमें सोशल और ह्यूमन का अंतर नहीं है। आप देखिए अरविंद श्रोडिंगर जो क्वांटम फिजिसिस्ट है, वेदांत से इंस्पिरेशन लेते हैं। नेचुरल साइंसेज, सोशल साइंसेज, ह्यूमैनिटीज का डिसीजन डेकार्ट लेके आते हैं। डेकार्ट लेके आते हैं बिकॉज मटेरियल रियलिटी और जो मेंटल रियलिटी को अंतर कहते हैं, कहते हैं मटेरियल यूनिवर्स को स्टडी करना है तो आपको एक तरीका मेथड चाहिए। तो ह्यूमन माइंड उसको कॉन्सेप्चुलाइज करता है, इसका इंटीग्रेशन नहीं है, उसी से हम लेके आ रहे हैं। और ये जो डिफरेंसेस है, हमने ICSR में ट्रांसडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च मैं एक मीटिंग था, मैम है, एक मीटिंग था DST DBT के ऑनरेबल सेक्रेटरीज से, एक प्रोग्राम था उनका एग्री टेक पे जो है एग्रीकल्चर साइंटिस्ट को जो है आप दे रहे हैं। मैंने कहा ICSR में हमने आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और जेंडर पे रिसर्च फंड दिया है, जिसमें हमने हमने ये मैंडेटरी रखा कि एक आपको नेचुरल साइंटिस्ट इंजीनियर रखना है एज ए को project director. Why not in projects that are funded by DST and DBT? The broad point is this, that if we have to move ahead, if we have to create Viksit Bharat, then these distinctions have to go away, and this we learn from our tradition. That is something that is important. I'll give an example. There is a scholar from Tamil Nadu, of course. We have recently funded her, and from the Shastra University, Kumbakonam, Bharati Srinivasan, I think, from Shastra University in Tamil Nadu. And she, her project, of course, was on, I'm just giving one example, that the scholar from Tamil Nadu, her project was how to develop a kind of a therapeutic discourse and tools to study Parkinson and diabetes. And she had, her team includes health scientists, and the influence of Vedic chanting, Vedic chanting on aging patients, aged patients suffering from Parkinson as well as diabetes. Now, this is not wishful thinking. If you look at the project, of course, it's a collaborative project, and where there are, of course, methods that SHSY5Y, that method that they use, the method that the tools that they evolve out of that rat model, in order to look at the cell behavior and molecular behavior in patients, of course, suffering from these diseases, pre and post chanting of the mantras, of course, and very detailed methods. So what she has done, of course, is in a beautiful and a very creative way integrated medical sciences with human sciences using Indian texts from the Indian knowledge systems. We have funded lots of projects that are on empowering local craftsmen and women. So in all regions of India, including Maharashtra. Maharashtra, of course, would be the state that I think gets the second highest number of projects from ICSSR, after, of course, Tamil Nadu. But of course, there are representations from all over the nation. Our emphasis has been, sir, to support research that solves problems related to one of our schools is MSMEs in small villages, of course, and small urban towns. Because unless and until these societies are empowered, nation Bharat is not going to become Viksit. That has been some of our initiatives. Of course, there's a lot of things to talk about here, but I think I have a limited time here. But even in the intellectual tradition, I think we have funded a lot. We also feel that in the age of AI, where AI is so much dependent on language models, and Bharat with its advantage of hundreds of languages, not 22 scheduled languages, but hundreds of languages, and a great languages, of course, are storehouses of generations of experience on how individuals and societies have negotiated with different problems and different ideas. And AI, since it is actually built on language models, Bharat has great advantage with great knowledge that is contained in the different languages of India. That is why we've done away with the radical sort of a distinction between quantitative and qualitative research at ICSS, and more generally, historically, social science research has been extremely biased in favor of quantitative research, which Sir to economics ke hain, Dian Vajpayee ji, but social science research meant economic research. Economic research means quantitative research. Quantitative research से जो हमारे आर्यभट्ट जो हमारे यहाँ जो हुए हैं, उनकी जो assessment रही है, जो scientific with quote within quote scientific, what is scientific after all, that also needs to be questioned. Is scientific entirely observational, experiment based? Is scientific only where you create hypotheses based on observation and go and test it in your lab using material instruments? What material instruments our ancestors have? There's a different kind of methodology. So rather than going out to deep into the material world, they went deep into human consciousness. What I'm trying to say is that we need to fundamentally rethink in a way these sciences need to be studied, and that is something that ICSSR has been doing of late. And I was talking of language. I think we did away with the preponderance of quantitative study. Because quantitative study, of course, generally, of course, with great respect, is very, very important. It's important for policy making. That nothing to take away from quantitative research. And I don't want to wedge a kind of that old debate M.N. Srinivas introduced in sociology, in quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative research is extremely important, but our people went to the villages, went to the individuals, they studied the human self, they studied the human experience. Without studying human experience, it's impossible to make policies based on pure data. There's a problem with data, we all know that. That is why at ICSSR, of late, we have also, that doesn't mean that we have reduced the importance of quantitative study. That's why the number of projects that we give at ICSSR, but qualitative research, language-based research. We've introduced an initiative called Art, Craft, Culture of the regions of India, where we have funded Karnataka, we have funded communities in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, in UP, in Bihar, in Kashmir. And that reminds me of the shocking thing that happened. So I'll end here just to say that for us, of course, and for all of us, I believe my submission is that we need to rethink social science in Bharatiya perspective, both from the perspective of Drishti, where we need to sort of revive, if I use the word, our Pramana tradition, how to study society, how to study problem, how to study ideas. Pramanas in the Sanskrit or the Tamil tradition or all language traditions, and pramanas from the living realities of the people, the folk, the tribal. We have recently found a PVD, particularly vulnerable tribe groups of India. 1 month back we have funded. We have announced Punyashloka Ahilya Bai Holkar's call for project for women-led research, for women-led development. So all the entirety of research team will comprise of women, no men there. To study women-led, there was a suggestion, put some men there, as if a co-PI. I said, no, if you put a man as a co-PI, she will ask her colleague, generally, sir, some experience hote hai, कि अच्छा apply कर दो, project तो हमें करना है. तो obviously, women-led development, equity की हम आज अब बात करते हैं, I'll end with this, equity की बात करते हैं, equality की बात करते हैं, equity की बात हमारे यहाँ सदियों से है. Equity की वजह से constitution में जो affirmative action है, that comes from equity, that is ingrained in the Indian thought. So I'll end here by just saying that we need to rethink Drishti as well as the whole, what is, if I can use a very loaded term, the epistemology of social science as well as the ontology of social science. What is social science? What constitutes social science? That needs to be rethought. The distinction that we make primarily with history, polity, क्या अर्थशास्त्र में तो नहीं है distinction, आनुवंशिकी त्रयी, तो वो एक सुर में कहते हैं, अगर सुर की बात अगर मैं कहूँ, और आप देखिए रूरल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, चाणक्य की जो थिंकिंग है, विलेज, सस्टेनेबल विलेज सोसाइटीज़ की, विलेज अपने आप में एक सस्टेनेबल यूनिट है, और विलेज और सिटी का कनेक्शन क्या है, दोनों सस्टेनेबल है, और एक कनेक्शन है विलेज और सिटी का. उस आज हम स्मार्ट सिटी की बात करते हैं, हमें the smart sustainable village जो है is going to be the basis for making India develop, because we look at villages in terms of laborers that come to cities, primarily on those, and agriculture. We need to make agriculture sustainable, we need to make villages sustainable, we need to make small towns sustainable, we need to make marginal communities sustainable and empower them, and that is where we are all focused on. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Singh, for an insightful speech on the richness of Indian knowledge system and connecting that to modern society using new age technologies, AI, as well as truly understanding social science and its application to address modern issues. We will now move on to another book release, a book titled A Search for Inclusive Growth in Arthashastra, authored by Professor G.V. Joshi and Professor Ramesh Salian, published by Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad. I request Professor G.V. Joshi and Professor Ramesh Salian, sir, to please come on stage for the release of the book. A big round of applause. I now request Professor G.V. Joshi, sir, to say a few words on this publication.
Respected Professor Krishna Bhatta, who has generously given an inspiring foreword to the volume which is now released. Professor Bajpayee ji, whose words of applause are included in the volume titled A Search for Inclusive Growth in Arthashastra. All the office bearers of RSVP who have supported the cause of bringing out a volume on Kautilya's Arthashastra with special reference to inclusive growth. All the dignitaries on the dais, all the learned members of the RSVP, young friends, and my friend Dr. Ramesh Salian, who has also contributed to this book. Without taking much of your time, I can afford to say that an effort is initiated by us to show that the author of Arthashastra was seriously thinking about inclusive growth. It has become a fashion in this country to speak about inclusive growth, sometimes without much relevance to the social conditions. It is not so in the case of Kautilya's Arthashastra, where there is practical wisdom as well as the enthusiasm to know the roots of social realities. There are 5 chapters. May I submit that we have not written a very big volume at all. It is rather a small volume with the assumption that the small becomes beautiful. Both of us have taken care to see that the small should not look ugly because of our regards for the dignitaries who have contributed to our effort of bringing out the volume. 5 chapters. In the first chapter, an effort is made by us to bring out the meaning and significance of the concept of inclusive growth. There is a theoretical exercise. A theory is built there. And interestingly, what Kautilya writes in his Arthashastra is consistent with that modern theory of inclusive growth. That has been done in the first chapter by making references to various books and articles which are attempting to bring out the dimensions of inclusive growth for which this country has been constantly trying. In the second chapter, an effort is made by us to discuss the way Kautilya brings out the group of weaker section of the society. Ladies and gentlemen, that writer, known for practical wisdom, categorizes the groups in the society which require the support of the king, and the king is identified with the state there. Therefore, the book has uniqueness. The king is not an uncrowned emperor. The king is identical with the state. To that extent, the responsibilities of the king increase to enhance inclusive growth. In the third chapter, an effort is made by us to show that financial resources are to be collected and codified to uphold the cause of inclusive growth. There again, mention is made of the powerful views of the chief author of Arthashastra, namely Kautilya. Then comes the fourth chapter, where an institutional setting is discussed. Kautilya has given us a very practical thinking on the institutional structure for promoting inclusive growth as well as inclusive governance. The whole exercise of Kautilya becomes relevant because there is a thinking on welfare state, and inclusive growth is a part of the process of building the edifice of a welfare state. Then the last chapter, the fifth chapter, where we have quoted a number of writers to show how Kautilya becomes relevant even now. It is not because of any kind of, a blind belief that we have done. We, G.V. Joshi, and his student, Dr. Ramesh Sayan, after making repeated discussions, thought of giving a lengthy evaluation of the contributions of different writers. There are appendices. There are 8 appendices in the book where we have quoted noted writers. Please compare our views with the views of those writers who are placed in the appendices. We have not forgotten to include the words of wisdom of Kautilya later. Each statement there, each remark there shows how Kautilya was relentlessly thinking about welfare state and inclusive growth. The last page, of course, gives a brief list of words which we have included in the book. The book is, after all, the result of a teacher and a student. It is up to the readers, the respected members of the RSVP, the respected officers of the ICSSR, the authorities of this university, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to show and to know where Kautilya stands in the committee of group of writers in this country who have been thinking about inclusive growth. This is the place where I got my MPhil degree in the Gokhale Institute. My guru, Professor Rath, Nilkant Rath, is to be remembered. After all, Kautilya is the guru for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to invite Professor A.D.N. Bajpayee, sir, chairperson of this inaugural session, to give his remarks.
राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद के 7वें अधिवेशन के शुभारंभ सत्र में जिनका आशीर्वाद हमको प्राप्त हो रहा है, ऐसे आदरणीय पी.वी. कृष्ण भट्ट जी, आदरणीय प्रोफेसर राजकुमार भाटिया जी, इस विश्वविद्यालय के कुलगुरु प्रोफेसर प्रसाद पी. जोशी जी, आदरणीय महेश कराड़ जी, और जिन ICSR के मेंबर सेक्रेटरी जिनके साथ हम निरंतर संबंध बनाए रखना चाहते हैं, ऐसे प्रोफेसर धनंजय सिंह जी, इस विश्वविद्यालय की कुलसचिव महोदया और हमारे राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद की आत्मा जिस शरीर में निवास करती है, ऐसी शीला राय जी। मैं अभी एक कार्यक्रम में था तो बोले कि मंच की शोभा में सब लोग बैठे हुए हैं, लेकिन जो हमारे एक अधिकारी है बोले मंच की शोभा वो नहीं होती जो मंच पे बैठे रहते हैं, जो मंच के सामने बैठे हो मंच की शोभा बढ़ाते हैं। तो ये वास्तव में उन्होंने कह दिया होगा, लेकिन जब मैं जिस मंच की शोभा के रूप में शांति श्री दिलीप पंडित को देखता हूँ तो लगता है कि ये वास्तव में शोभा बढ़ी है। प्रोफेसर श्री प्रकाश मणि त्रिपाठी जी, चंद्रकला पाडिया मैडम, प्रोफेसर G.V. जोशी जी, वसंत शिंदे जी, प्रोफेसर सुरेंद्र कुमार जी दिल्ली स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स से, प्रोफेसर सदानंद मोरे जी, प्रोफेसर V.N. भट्ट, प्रोफेसर नरेंद्र कोष्टी जो कि MP पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन के सम्मानीय सदस्य हैं, प्रोफेसर चंद्रशेखर आरोणकर जो कि NDA से आए हुए हैं, कीर्ति धारवाड़कर, प्रोफेसर रमेश सालियान, प्रोफेसर गोविंद शर्मा जी, प्रोफेसर वैदेही दफ्तरदार जी, और एक नाम मैं सबसे बाद में इसलिए लेता हूँ कि जिस समाज विज्ञान की बात करते हैं उस समाज का बहुत बड़ा अंग होता है विवाह, परिणय। हम सभी लोग जानते हैं परिणय जो है महत्वपूर्ण कड़ी होता है, और परिणय में वर और वधू को मिलाने वाला एक व्यक्ति होता है जिसको हमारे मजमा बोलते हैं। प्रकाशमणि त्रिपाठी जी, चंद्रकला पाठी से बोले मध्यस्थता जो करता है, उस मध्यस्थ को सब भूल जाते हैं बाद में, इतना विवाद खड़ा होता है भूल जाते हैं। हमारे इस पूरे समारोह की मध्यस्थता करने वाला व्यक्ति है प्रोफेसर अमरजीव लोचन। अमरजीव लोचन ने परिचय कराया इस संस्था से, उन्होंने प्रस्ताव दिया कि हमारा जो है वो अधिवेशन यहाँ पर हो, उन्होंने परिचय कराया प्रोफेसर प्रसाद जोशी जी से, और पूरा जो आयोजन हो रहा है उसकी प्रमुख कड़ी नींव में अमरजीव लोचन जी, मैं आपको नमस्कार करता हूँ। बंधुओं, मुझे वो संक्षेप में बात करना है क्योंकि जो बात आदरणीय पी.वी. कृष्ण भट्ट जी ने की, जो बात आदरणीय कराड़ जी ने की, जो बात पी.वी. प्रसाद जोशी जी ने की, और जो बात बड़े विस्तार से वैज्ञानिक ढंग से आदरणीय धनंजय सिंह ने की, वही बात मैं भी करूंगा, इसलिए उसकी आवश्यकता नहीं है। और G.V. जोशी जी ने पुस्तक में जो बात कही, यही बातें हम सभी लोग निरंतर करते रहें, सुनते रहें और बोलते रहें हैं, इसे उसकी आवृत्ति करने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है। लगभग यही बात जो आदरणीय शीला जी भी करेंगी कि हम लोग जिस स्कूल ऑफ थॉट के हैं वो लगभग एक ही है। जैसे पी.वी. कृष्णा स्कूल ऑफ थॉट, पी.वी. कृष्णा भट्ट स्कूल ऑफ थॉट के हम लोग रहने वाले हैं, इन्हीं से सीखते हैं, इनके सामने बोलते हैं, संशोधन करते रहते हैं, आगे बढ़ते रहते हैं। उसकी कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है मुझे लगता है बोलने की। भारतीय समाज विज्ञान के अंतर्गत भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य, भारतीय दृष्टि है। मैंने पहले भी कहा, आज भी कहता हूँ, भारतीय समाज विज्ञान जो विज्ञान जोड़ रखा है वो गलत है। कि कुछ वैज्ञानिकों ने जिस प्रकार के समाज को देखा तो उसको पॉजिटिव साइंस के रूप में रखने का उन्होंने निर्णय लिया। वो कहा है जो समाज विज्ञान को वैज्ञानिक रूप से, जैसे वैज्ञानिक पॉजिटिव साइंस है जो लैब से कहीं पैदा हो जाता है, प्रयोगशालाओं से उत्पन्न होता है, उसी प्रकार से सोशल बिहेवियर को भी चुनना चाहिए, देखना चाहिए। हमारी जिस वैचारिकी को शुद्ध किया आदरणीय सुदर्शन जी ने, वो कहते थे उनकी गलती क्या, उन्होंने जैसे समाज को देखा, जैसा अर्थ व्यवहार देखा, वैसे उन्होंने थेराइज किया और थेराइज करके सामने रख दिया। आप अपने समाज को देखिए, समाज के मनोविज्ञान को पढ़िए और उसके अनुसार उसमें आप उसकी सिद्धांत बनाइए, सिद्धांत बना करके प्रस्तुत कर दीजिए। तो वो एकदम से अपोजिट लगता है। वो इसलिए अपोजिट लगता है क्योंकि जो मानव की अवधारणा है वही गलत है। मानव की अवधारणा को लेकर के पाश्चात्य दार्शनिकों ने जो काम किया है उसमें आत्मा को कोई स्थान ही नहीं है, और है भी तो इतना ही कि शरीर में आत्मा रहती है। इसलिए शरीर पर केंद्रित होकर के ही उन्होंने सारा काम किया। इसको अच्छा भोजन कराइए, उसको अच्छे वस्त्र पहनाइए, अच्छा मकान दीजिए, इसको मनोरंजन व्यवस्था की, शिक्षा उनके अनुसार, चिकित्सा उनके अनुसार, सब कुछ। जिसकी अन्नमय कोष की बात धनंजय जी ने यहाँ पे की, उस अन्नमय कोष तक ही सीमित है, उसके ऊपर उठ ही नहीं पाते हैं वो लोग। कुछ उठे तो बौद्धिकता तक चले गए। तो जस्ट अपोजिट बिहेवियर क्या है, हम कहते हैं कि आत्मा जो है वो शरीर को धारण करती है। हमारे सामने वैदिक दफ्तरदार जी गीता की परम विदुषी हैं। उपनिषदीय परंपरा में सब कुछ यही मानते, न जायते हन्यते हन्यमा शरीरे। ये जन्म पहले भी हुआ है, बाद में हुआ है। हम शरीर को स्वामी मानते हैं और आत्मा को स्वामी मानते हैं, और शरीर को उसका केवल वाहिका, तंत्र का, और वो कहते हैं शरीर सब कुछ, इसमें आत्मा रहती है। तो पूरा व्यवहार जो है, जीवन मूल्य जितने भी हैं, वो सब जस्ट अपोजिट हैं एक दूसरे के, रेसिप्रोकल एक दूसरे के हैं। हमें यदि वास्तव में भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य, भारतीय दृष्टि को स्थापित करना है तो हमें अपनी सांस्कृतिक दृष्टि को लाना पड़े, हमें अपनी आध्यात्मिक दृष्टि को केंद्र में रख करके जिस प्रकार के जीवन मूल्य हमने जिए हैं, उन जीवन मूल्यों को समाज विज्ञान का विषय बनाना पड़ेगा। तब जाकर के भारतीय दृष्टि उसके अंतर्गत आ पाई, भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य उसके अंतर्गत आ पाएगा। जितने जीवन मूल्य हम जो देखते हैं समाज में, चाहे वो करुणा का हो, चाहे वो दया का हो, चाहे परोपकार का हो, चाहे जिस प्रकार का भी हो, वो त्याग से जुड़ा हुआ है, वो देने से जुड़ा हुआ। ये सबके सब लक्षण आत्मा के हैं। धर्म के जितने लक्षण आत्मा के लक्षण हैं। हम उसी से अपने व्यवहार को उपजाते हैं, तब जाकर कहीं एकात्मता पैदा होती है, तब कहीं जाकर एकाग्रता पैदा होती है, तब जाकर कहीं सर्वसमावेशिकता पैदा होती है, तब कहीं जाकर सार्वकालिकता पैदा होती है, तब जाकर कहीं वसुदैव कुटुंबकम जैसा उद्घोष देता है ऋषि, तब कहीं जाकर कहता है सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः की बात करता है ऋषि। और वहीं पर एक बात और भी कहता है, तो सब कुछ जानते हुए भी जिस काल में, जिस व्यक्ति समूह के साथ में, जिस क्षेत्र में रहता है, उसे भूलना नहीं। हमारी दृष्टि सांप को दूध पिलाने वाली दृष्टि है। सर्व खल्लमिदम ब्रह्म के अंतर्गत सर्प को भी दूध पिलाने वाली संस्कृति केवल भारतीय संस्कृति है। लेकिन आवश्यकता पड़ने पर कालिका नाक के ऊपर नृत्य करके उसे फन को कुचलने वाली भी संस्कृति भारतीय संस्कृति है। हमने कालिका नाक को कभी बख्शा नहीं। जो देश के गद्दार हैं, आतंकवादी हैं, चाहे वो पहलगाम के हों, चाहे वो बस्तर के हों, उनको कुचलने का भी काम भारतीय संस्कृति करती है। भारतीय संस्कृति में संघर्ष और युद्ध करना भी बराबरी से सिखाया जाता है। हम नहीं किसी प्रकार का भेद करते हैं, न धर्म के आधार पर, न भाषा के आधार पर, न जाति के आधार पर, न वर्ण के आधार पर, न क्षेत्रीयता के आधार पर किसी प्रकार का हम दिखाई पड़ने वाला भेद नहीं मानते। लेकिन उस विभेद को सम्मान जितना आवश्यक होता है उसे देना चाहिए, और देते भी हैं। ये प्रासंगिकता है। एक बात कह के और अपनी वाणी को विराम दूंगा। हम जिस एकेडमिक पूल में हैं, हमें एकेडमिक काम करना चाहिए। एकेडमिशियन का काम ही होता है जो एग्जिस्टिंग थेरीज़ हैं उनको हम डाइसेक्ट करें, रिविजिट करें और अपनी थेरीज़ बनाएं, अपने हिसाब से बनाएं। लेकिन केवल एकेडमिक्स तक, थेरीज़ तक रहना जो है भारतीय समाज वैज्ञानिक दृष्टि, भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य उसमें नहीं है। भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य समाज किस प्रकार से व्यवहार करता है उसके साथ में भी जोड़ना चाहिए। भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों ने, भारतीय ऋषियों ने अपना वैज्ञानिक अनुसंधान भी किए और समाज तक उनको पहुंचाने का भी काम किया। ऋग्वेद यदि स्तुतियों की बात करता है तो स्तुतियों के साथ साथ ऋग्वेद के ऋषियों ने बताया तुम जाकर के वृक्षों की पूजा करो, पशुओं की पूजा करो, नदियों की पूजा करो, व्यक्तियों की पूजा करो, माता को देवता मानो, पिता को देवता मानो, अतिथि को देवता मानो। ये सब बताया, उसको अनुशासन में ले आए। अब वो लाखों साल की परंपरा हम अपने जीवन में जीते चले आ रहे हैं। जब धनंजय जोशी जी बार बार के इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम्स की बात करें, भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा की बात करते हैं, तो भारतीय ज्ञान में ज्ञान है हमारे पास में, लेकिन परंपराओं में जो ज्ञान है उसकी बात भी हमको उतना ही महत्व देना चाहिए। परंपराएं उत्तराधिकार से समाज को लेते चलते चले आ रहे हैं। अभी 300 वर्ष की बात अहिल्याबाई की कही उन्होंने। अहिल्याबाई के इतिहासकार भूल गए होंगे, लेकिन समाज ने अहिल्याबाई को अपने अंतःकरण में जीवंत रखा। इसलिए आज हम 300 साल बाद उनके बताए हुए रास्ते पर उनके किए हुए कार्यों का हम सम्मान देते हैं। रानी दुर्गावती ने 500 साल बाद अपने प्राणों का उत्सर्ग करना उचित समझा, अपेक्षाकृत अपरजा समझौता करना। और उन 500 साल तक की आप किस्से सुने जाकर वहाँ पर नरई नाला से लेकर कलिंजर फोर्ट तक, तो जगह जगह रानी दुर्गावती के किस्से कहानियाँ लोग अभी तक वैसे ही जीवित रखे हुए हैं जैसे कि 500 साल पहले उन्होंने किया हो। तो मेरा निवेदन ये है, जब हम भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य की बात करेंगे, भारतीय दृष्टि की बात करेंगे, तो हमारा समाज वो समाज नहीं जो कॉस्मोपॉलिटन सिटी में रहता है, 20 शहरों में 20% जनसंख्या जिसका व्यवहार करती है, वो समाज जो बृहत्तर मूल समाज है भारतवर्ष का, बृहत्तर मूल समाज, चाहे जनजाति समूह में रहता हो, ग्रामीण समाज में रहता हो, सुदूर वनांचलों में रहता हो, वो समाज जिस प्रकार के व्यवहार को जी रहा है वो है भारतीय दृष्टि। और उसके अंतर्गत 3 पैरामीटर्स के आधार पर हमको भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य, भारतीय दृष्टि को जांचना पड़ेगा। यदि उस पर वो नहीं आ पाती बात, तो हमें लगता है कहीं न कहीं संकोच है, कहीं न कहीं इस दृष्टि में कमजोरी है। पहला है सार्वकालिकता, जो पहले था वो मध्य में भी है, अभी भी विद्यमान है। एटर्नैलिटी जिसको बोलते हैं, ए टेम्पररी अप्रोच नहीं, भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य भारतीय दृष्टि का ऐसा नहीं है। एटर्नैलिटी, सार्वकालिकता पहला लक्षण, पहला पैरामीटर है। दूसरा यूनिवर्सैलिटी, सार्वभौमिकता की बात हम करते हैं। और तीसरा है ऑल इंक्लूसिवनेस, सर्वसमावेशकता। यदि 3 तत्व विद्यमान नहीं हैं, जिसमें कि सार्वकालिकता का तत्व, सार्वभौमिकता का तत्व और सर्वसमावेशकता का तत्व यदि इसमें नहीं है, वो भारतीय परिप्रेक्ष्य नहीं हो सकता है, भारतीय दृष्टि नहीं हो सकती। लेकिन बंधु, मैं बार बार यही कहता हूँ, वसुधैव कुटुंबकम का हम नारा लगाते अवश्य हैं, लेकिन हमारा कुटुंब, हमारी धरती, हमारी भारत माता, इसकी सुरक्षा करना सबसे पहला हमारा धर्म है। इसको लेकर के हम वसुधैव कुटुंबकम का नारा लगाएंगे, ऑल इंक्लूसिवनेस की हम बात करेंगे और सार्वकालिकता की बात करेंगे। जिस समय में, जिस क्षेत्र में, जिस समूह के साथ रहते हैं, उसको पूरा सम्मान देने का भी धर्म हमारी ही दृष्टि है, हमारी जीवन मूल्य है। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं पुनः आदरणीय प्रसाद पी जोशी जी, आपके प्रति आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। वैसे आभार देने का भार जो है आदरणीय शीला जी बाद में करेंगे। आप सब यहाँ पर सुदूर अंचलों से यहाँ पे आए, हिमाचल प्रदेश के गिरीश गौरव जी से लेकर के केरल के बहुत से लोग यहाँ पे आए हैं, गुजरात से आए हैं, मध्य प्रदेश, छत्तीसगढ़ से हैं, महाराष्ट्र के काफ़ी लोग यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं। मैं सबको जो है अपने राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद की ओर से आपका स्वागत करता हूँ, अभिनंदन करता हूँ। इसी प्रकार से स्नेह और आशीर्वाद राष्ट्रीय समाज विज्ञान परिषद के प्रति बनाए रखिए। धन्यवाद। वंदे मातरम।
Thank you, sir. Before I invite Professor Sheila Rai ma'am to give the vote of thanks, I have a small announcement. People who are yet to complete their registration are requested to do so at your earliest convenience. There is a registration desk outside the hall here. So you are requested to please complete your registration at your earliest convenience. Now I would like to invite Professor Sheila Rai ma'am to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Amrita, for giving me this mic which is working. And at the very outset, मैं इस बात से प्रारंभ करूं, धन्यवाद देना बहुत वैसे सरल है, जटिलता उसमें ये है कि आप चाहते हैं व्यक्तिशः सबको धन्यवाद दें, लेकिन ये संभव नहीं है, क्योंकि एक एक व्यक्ति को अगर धन्यवाद देती रहूं तो शायद 3 दिन तो हम लोग इसी में बिता देंगे. लेकिन मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि कम बोलूँ तो भी उसको अधिक समझें. मैं प्रत्येक को धन्यवाद अब पूरे RSV के तरफ से देना चाहती हूँ. लेकिन कुछ लोगों के संदर्भ में, कुछ विषयों के संदर्भ में RSVP के तरफ से कुछ यहाँ अभिव्यक्त करना मेरा नैतिक दायित्व है, जिसको मैं पूरा करूँगी. And to begin with, I would, Professor Bajpayee has made my task easier. He has mentioned most of the people who form our executive and the role they've been playing, etc. So I will not take all those names, but to begin with, Professor Shinde needs to be, I don't know, applauded for it, for the kind of work. He's the one who actually indicated to Professor Amarjeev Lochan. And then, of course, everybody in the country and beyond knows about this legendary institution. But we never had the opportunity to come and organize a conference out here. And we actually were very, very ignited by this idea of organizing this conference here for 2 reasons. One, we began in 2008, and I remember sharing the room with Shanti Shri Pandit ji, and we were 100 social scientists in Prabodhini Mahalagi, where we sat and deliberated, why is it that we have compartmentalized our social sciences? What Professor Dhananjay ji was talking about. Why is it that we do not have the Indian perspective? Why are we still suffering from the colonial impact? When is it that we will be able to liberate the social sciences from the Europe-American perspective and mindset? And whether it is research, whether it is teaching, whether it is technologies and methodologies to be used for that, we need to actually rethink and revive our Indian methods. And that is why now, in 2008, under the patronship of Professor Krishna Bhattaji, we began this Rashtriya Samaj Vigyan Parishad, and now it's 18 years old. We are mature enough to come and tell Maharashtra that, look, we have done considerable work, we have to do much more. You gave birth to this organization, but the organization is striving ahead. Professor Rajkumar Bhatia ji, the more said about him is little. He came all the way from Delhi to Pune, to Bombay, to kind of generate the resources both in material and humankind as to how this conference can be organized. We have to remember, we have 2 very, very youthful people as our patrons, from whom we have to imbibe the spirit of youthfulness. Then only an association like this actually fructifies. To begin with, we were very excited that we were having our Education Minister of Maharashtra to be here on this occasion to speak a few words to actually, and his presence would definitely have added more luster to this program. But we do realize that certain circumstances arose due to which he could not come. We look forward, he has sent word that he will be coming in the valedictory session. We will be benefited by his words. What should I say about Shri Rajesh Pandey ji? In a time when there is a lot of people speak about the trust deficit of people who are in politics. Rajesh Pandey ji was, of course, he was introduced to us by Bhatia ji, and Krishna Bhatt ji also spoke very highly of him. But what amazed me most was, he was not only very humble. Anywhere that I went to Pune, in the academic institutions and otherwise and beyond, and people asked me, who's supporting you? And we said, well, we have approached Rajesh Pandey ji. And people said, okay, then you just have to stay assured. He's the most reliable and trustworthy person who can take care of all your requirements. And we are indeed indebted to him that he has provided all the kind of support which is required for a conference to happen in the manner it is happening now. And about Deccan University and its Vice Chancellor, let me tell you, this is a legendary institution. Everybody knows about it. What is most pleasing is the unassuming personality of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Joshi. He is so humble. We went to his office. We are accustomed to seeing that ostentatious kind of a chamber of a Vice Chancellor. No air conditioner there. Anybody can come in and sit with him and talk to him. This is the kind of tradition which has been created by figures like them. I was mighty impressed. I said, more institutions need to take some cues from here. So we are indebted to you, Professor Joshi, and your entire fraternity for the kind of support you provided us. Without that kind of support, the dream of organizing a mature or at least an adult RSVP's conference in Maharashtra would probably not have happened. And what I need to also thank, and whom I need to also thank, is all the veterans who have come here, the very well acknowledged scholars, and also the young aspiring scholars. You face the inclement weather. I never thought Pune is going to be as warm as it is. Yesterday it was 41 degrees Celsius. And you braved all this heat. We are all here in this heat, and you're participating in this conference. You took the arduous journey and came here. We are grateful to you for doing that. And we are actually looking forward to the strength increasing with every conference. Professor Karad, who's the Vice Chancellor, Mangesh Karadji, sir, salutations to you. But for government efforts, education would not have fructified the way it has. And I know you have a very prestigious institution. And the kind of support you provided us with your buses and your presence here, RSVP is grateful to you for providing all kinds of support. Savitribai Phule University, we went there, we met the Vice Chancellor. He was very gracious enough. He said, we will provide you whatever support we can. And he has provided us places for the people to stay there. They may not be the best situations that we would like, but we have been given some kind of logistic support from them that we are grateful for. We are also very, very happy that we could release the souvenir, and also Professor Joshi actually needs a special thanks from the entire RSVP and the academic world for the very good work that he has done in this book of his. What RSVP has been striving for, that we grow in size, we grow in depth, we create new material which reflects the Indian perspective, and this is precisely what he has done. Thank you, Professor Joshi, for contributing to the academic worth of this organization. Professor Dhananjay Singh, the chief guest of this day, he actually epitomizes the dynamism and the youthfulness that our country looks forward in the so-called demographic dividend. You heard from what he's doing, and I am privy to what he's been doing in ICSSR. The new ventures that he has adopted there, the kind of action that oriented and research, the umbrella of research has been so augmented that now we feel that we are now transcending new horizons, and ICSSR is doing a tremendous piece of work. Thank you, Dhananjay ji, and your words of wisdom here was very, very well appreciated. Thank you very much. And Srimati Anita Sonwane, we are bad at pronouncing Maharashtrian names, ma'am. Thank you so much. You are the registrar here. You helped us a lot. I am grateful on behalf of RSVP to every person who has come here. And if I have left out a few names of the university here, because there are a number of names that we could actually reel out from here, but we will do it in the concluding session. We are already running late. I was wondering to myself, had the other two guests been here, when would we have ended our program now? So might as well close it. But thank you one and all for making this a successful venture. And thank you Deccan College and all the institutions who have supported us. Everyone who has directly or indirectly contributed to making this conference a success. Well begun is half done. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we conclude this session with the rendition of our national anthem, I have a few important announcements to make. The first, the book that was released today, A Search of Inclusive Growth in Arthashastra, written by Professor G.V. Joshi and Professor Ramesh Salyan, is available for purchasing. They have the counter at the back of this conference hall. Today, you will be able to get it at a discounted rate. So please make this opportunity to the best of your use. And another book, Reflection of an Unconventional Mind, authored by Professor Shanti Shri Pandit, Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, is also available. You all can have the opportunity of getting these books. Following this inaugural session, we'll have a small tea break of 10 minutes. After that, we will return to a series of thoughtful keynote addresses. We will have the distinct privilege of hearing from three eminent scholars, Professor Vasant Shinde, Professor Surendra Singh, and Professor Sanadhan More. Following these keynote addresses, we will need to move on to the other side of the campus. Besides the academic section, we have two noteworthy exhibitions on display which will be inaugurated. The first one is on the old convocation hall of the main building. You can explore an exhibition by Sri Adi Anand Chordia, which is on the Heritage Pune. It's an photographic illustrative exhibition. Furthermore, Deccan College has also curated a special exhibition, which is will be on the ground floor of the same building. So post the keynote addresses, we will move to the other side. After the inauguration of this exhibition, we will have a lunch break. Lunch has been arranged for all of you in the museum building, new museum building, which is on the same side of where you will go to see the exhibitions. For your convenience, bus transportation has been arranged. However, for those who prefer, our campuses are also connected via an overbridge, offering a pleasant walk. And finally, to conclude our day on a vibrant note, we invite you all to join us back here in the evening at this very hall at 6 p.m. for a cultural program specially organized for our distinguished guests and participants. I now request all of you to please stand up for the national anthem.
Jana Gana Mana Adhinayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Banga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchhala Jaladhi Taranga तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे Jaya 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 He. Thank you. Jai.
तिकडे जाऊ परत हां ते चेंज करशील का मी जाते तिकडे हॅलो माझं सामान पडत Attention everyone. Attention please. Please be seated. We are now going to begin with our keynote address session. Please be seated. We are getting late. Good afternoon, everyone. We are now going to beginning our keynote address session. So we have chairperson for this session, Honorable Professor Shanti Shri Dulipudi Pandit Ma'am, who is Vice Chancellor, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. And the speakers are Professor Vasant Shinde, former Vice Chancellor, Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, Pune. Professor Surender Singh is Senior Professor from University of Delhi, Department of Economics. And Professor Sadananda More, who is renowned Marathi writer. So I request all the dignitaries to come on the dais and be seated, take their seats. I call upon Professor Prasad Joshi on dais. With the permission of Chairperson, Professor Shanti Shri Dulipudi Pandit Ma'am, I would like to begin this session. Firstly, I'll begin with the introduction of all the dignitaries, and then after felicitation program will take place, and the actual addresses program will begin. To introduce Honorable Professor Shanti Shri Dulipudi Pandit, who is an Indian academic and currently the Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi since February 2022. She is the first woman to hold this office. She was previously serving as Professor of Political Science at Savitribai Phule Pune University. Professor Pandit was graduated from Presidency College, Madras in History and Social Psychology. She later joined Jawaharlal Nehru University School of International Relations, where she completed her MPhil and PhD in 1986 and 1990. Her PhD thesis is on Parliament and Foreign Policy in India, the Nehru Years. Later, she went on to do her postgraduate diploma in peace and conflict studies from Uppsala University, Sweden, and governance, security and human rights, peace and conflict studies, and India's foreign policy. Besides, she has taught papers on mass media audiences, media research, politics, and communication at SPPU's Department of Communication Studies. Professor Pandit has been a member of a number of think tanks, include the NAC, CSIR, ICSSR, ICCR. At present, she is the president of the Indian Political Science Association. She has authored 4 books and edited 2, 40 book chapters, and over 180 research papers and publications in various journals on political science and foreign policy. 30 PhDs and 8 MPhils have completed under her supervision. Professor Pandit is a polyglot who speaks 6 languages, including Sanskrit and Marathi. She has won several academic awards at national and international level. So, may I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Prasad Joshi, to felicitate Professor Shanti Shri Dhulipudi Pandit ma'am and felicitate. Okay, yeah, sir. Okay. So we have distinguished speakers for this session. Professor Vasant Shinde, who is former professor and former vice chancellor of the Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute. And we have Professor Surender Kumar, he is senior professor from Department of Economics, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi, and Professor Sadananda Sridhar More, a celebrated Marathi writer, poet, playwriter from Pune. He is a former professor and head of Department of Philosophy, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. I now request again Professor Prasad Joshi to felicitate all the distinguished speakers. With the permission of Chairperson, Professor Pandit ma'am, I now call upon Professor Vasant Shinde to begin his keynote address. Thank you.
Namaste. Professor Shanti Shri Pandit, the other dignitaries on the dais, very distinguished gathering here, students, staff and the faculty of the Deccan College. Just briefly, now I will be putting up my views about the social sciences and the society. And being an archaeologist, we dig out the ancient societies. And if you want to really understand how we have reached to this status, then we need to go back to the roots. And that is the work, we archaeologists do this. Now, if we look at the evidence that we have from different sources, I always believe that, the founder of the Indian culture and the tradition are the Harappans. Because, and that is maybe around 4,500 years ago. Because most of the traditions that we follow today, the social organization that we have, and that has emerged from the Harappan times. And before we look into the social organization, I think we have to peep into this philosophy of the Harappans. That the Harappans were the contemporary of the Mesopotamians and the Egyptians. We always compare them with these Egyptians and the Mesopotamians. One thing that which is very striking is that the Harappans had very different philosophy. And whatever work that they have done for the common society, for the common people. So that was not the case in fact in the western part, particularly in Mesopotamia and Egypt. So most of the development in that part happened because of the presence of the kings and the queens, the royal families there, and all the development that happened in fact was around these royal families. The Harappans had a very disadvantageous position. They did not have a lot of resources available within their region. But they had very strong thirst for the development. And for that purpose, they had devised some innovative maybe strategies. And one of the important strategies that they devised was to develop maritime contact with these foreign countries. Particularly, they started with Oman, then further with Bahrain, then Persian Gulf, Mesopotamia, and up to Egypt. And the trade was so beneficial for the Harappans. They were able to generate so much wealth. And that wealth was used by the Harappans for the welfare of the common people. So that is the philosophy in fact we had. And right from the early stage, whatever evidence we have, archaeological evidence particularly, clearly indicates that we have followed the democratic system right from the Harappan times. We don't have the evidence of the palaces or the royal families in the Harappan period. What we have, on the basis of the evidence, we can surmise that they had some kind of a panchayat system, some kind of maybe early form of democratic system. And if you really want to know more about this, I have written one article in the book which is published by ICHR, India, the Mother of Democracy. And that was the book which was published in fact, as the first agenda of the G20. Our Honorable Prime Minister, in fact, had suggested this particular theme. So you'll understand, in fact, that India has a democratic system right from the early stage. And because of that, because they care for the common people, they did not use this money, or they did not waste their resources for creating pyramid-like structures or ziggurats, or they did not bury this wealth, in fact, in the burials or the royal tombs, as we see in the West. So that wealth which was coming was used by the Harappans, in fact, for the development of the society, for the welfare of the society. And one of the most important contribution that we, the Indians, have done. When I say Harappans, that means I'm talking about the Indians. One of the important contribution that we have done in the history of maybe world, that we have taught the world, in fact, how to build very systematic, well-planned and hygienic cities. And these cities were developed by the Harappans for the common people. The other thing that we have taught the world is the modern construction method, which was developed by the Harappans almost 5,000 years ago. And that method today is called the English bond method. But actually this method, the English people are not really aware about this method till 14th century, whereas this was innovated and used by the Indians almost 5,000 years ago. And today, in fact, it has got a relevance. Today, the entire world is following this particular system. Then they created such a knowledge system. That knowledge system is so relevant. That knowledge system was relevant to the society. And even today, we are following the same knowledge system even today. And there is a large section of the community in South Asia which are still following the traditional method. And there is so much relevance for the knowledge system that was created by the Harappans. So this is very important that why we are studying the Harappans, not only to understand the history of the Harappans or the events that we have done in fact quite a lot, but if we want to understand their contribution and what we learn from them, that is very important. So that is what we are trying to do now. So one strategy that they develop, which is being followed in fact all over the world today even, is the trade strategy. I always give the example of Japan in fact. Japan was almost destroyed in the Second World War. And nobody thought that Japan will rise again. But Japan rose within 15 years. And they showcased the economic power in fact during the Olympic, the Tokyo Olympic. And the strategy that the Japanese followed was exactly same as the Harappans. Harappans had technology with them, same as the Japanese, but they did not have resources. Even Japan did not have resources. So Harappans started generating these resources. They started importing the raw material from different sources. Japan also did, in fact, when they were developing, they were importing raw materials from India, China, these are the developing countries. And they started producing finished goods on a large scale. Even, the Harappans did that. And they exported these, goods to different parts of the world. Japan did that also. And that is how, our early Indians, in fact, they developed, this particular strategy. And that knowledge is so relevant even today. I don't say that Japan has learned directly from the Indians, but this knowledge has survived and spread, and that has come in fact to use, by some countries like Japan. So this is very important. The water harvesting and water management system that they developed was so unique in fact. Even today, that can be replicated. In fact, I gave a couple of lectures to Niti Aayog people, and I said that the Harappan knowledge, the Harappan water harvesting, water management system can be put to use even today. I always give the example of Dholavira, a very flourishing city which was developed in a desert part. And the Harappans, they developed a unique system, of the water harvesting and water management system. That system is so useful. We don't need, foreign collaboration for that. We don't need a lot of resources for putting this system in place. What we need is a concerted effort, in fact, of the community. Today, between Dholavira and Rapar, which is roughly 110 kilometers, there are hardly 4 or 5 villages, and people are not establishing settlements, mainly because of the dearth of water. But if you can follow the Harappan water harvesting method today, the entire desert, Kutch part will be a green land. So that is the relevance. Harappans, they produce large number of stone beads, and they exported to the West. They generated a lot of revenue from that also. There are communities in Khambat who are still following this particular method. They are producing the replicas of the Harappan beads, and they are doing the roaring business all over the world. So this is something that we need to really learn from the ancient societies. Only thing that when we talk about when we had such a great tradition, then why we have not been following today? The reason for that, of course, in the morning somebody mentioned about the contribution of Lord Macaulay, the one who formulated the idea or the education system in the British India. Now he knew very well that India had a very strong education system. Gurukula was such an important system. And he knew that if this system continues, then it will be very difficult to rule this country. It will be very difficult to subjugate the people here. And therefore, in the parliament, in the British parliament, he gave a big talk saying that, we should give the impression to the Indians that the language they speak is not, very, rather that is, inferior to the English language. You give the impression that your culture is not superior to the, to the Western culture. And then only perhaps, the Indians will, perhaps, they will follow us and they will do what we want. And this is exactly, they succeeded in doing that. So we were liberated, in fact, in 1947, but our mindset has still been not liberated. We are still, following the colonial mindset. Today, if somebody is not speaking good English, we always think that, this person does not know or he has no knowledge. That is the attitude you have developed. And unfortunately, even, for past 70 years, 75 years, I think, some of our, colleagues, they are fostering that idea even today. Because, they get some perks, maybe they get some foreign trips, and they follow that. I think we need to stop this. And finally, that we are capable of doing a very, scientific research. And that was demonstrated, when I did, in fact, when I was in Deccan College. We did that, for the first time, the DNA research. The first time, we brought different institutions together. It was a multidisciplinary, institutional research that we did. And we had succeeded, in fact, in 2015, we were about to publish our research because the entire work was done by the Indians. And then I realized that, perhaps, if you publish this now, because this was a new research, a breakthrough research, in fact, in the world, then I thought that there will be comments coming from the West or the Americans. They will say that maybe you have not followed this, maybe analysis, you have not done that analysis, etc. So what we did, in fact, that we made 3 libraries or the samples. So one of course, we analyzed. One we sent to, Korea, the Seoul National University, which has got one of the finest forensic science department. And one we sent to Harvard Medical School, which has got the largest or the biggest ancient DNA lab. And when we got the result from them, which was complementary to what we had achieved, then only we published that research. So that this demonstrates that, we are capable of doing research. We don't have to really depend on the foreign, maybe scholarship. We can, of course, borrow certain, good things from them, maybe research methodologies, etc. But I think, we should develop that confidence now. That is, that time has come that, we should develop that confidence. And this particular research, which was published in 2019, we published in 2019 September, and in November there was a big discussion. In fact, there's a big international conference on genomics, and they had identified 9 breakthrough researchers in the world in 2019, and our Rakhigarhi report, research was one of them. So that means, the research that we carry out, which was done by the Indians, is of international standard. We have demonstrated that to the whole world. I think this is what, we should follow. And then only, we'll be able to achieve what we want. So for the historians, archaeologists, reconstructing event is not enough. I think, we had to go beyond that. Firstly, we have to educate the people about the importance of the heritage. And secondly, we also, should make sure that we bring out the contribution that we have made and the relevance of that. Ultimately, the relevance is very important. And then only, we'll be able to succeed in our endeavor. So I'll stop here because, we have some, 3 more speakers, but these are the views that I wanted to express in front of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Vasant Shinde sir, for your insightful speech. May I now request Professor yeah, sorry sir.
That's fine.
May I now request Professor Surender Kumar, the senior professor from Department of Economics, University of Delhi, to begin with his address.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Respected Professor Pandit, chairing the session, co-panelist, and respected audience, scholars. Let me first thank the organizers giving me this opportunity to talk with you. We have this wonderful inaugural session. There we have different ideas. Let me raise some questions. In this last session, when Professor Sheila Rai was proposing vote of thanks, she was saying that outside temperature is crossing 41. That kind of temperature Pune never have seen. Professor Vajpayee was referring to Pahalgaon, Bastar. He was referring to those incidents. On the other side, also throughout the world, we are experiencing, observing every day something new problems that we are arising. On the other side, we as a nation, though we, in this, you can say the last 75 or 80 years, we have progressed a lot. We can express some satisfaction over that, but we want to aspire to be a developed nation, a Viksit Bharat. So in this situation, the question is, the Viksit Bharat that we are talking about, is that Viksit Bharat will make the Indian population make pride on our nationhood? That's the question. Will our people be happy with that? Because generally this Viksit Bharat we are trying to define only in materialistic terms. We say this much should be our per capita income. We should have world-class infrastructure. We say we should have this democratic governance. That way we try to define Viksit Bharat. In this situation, the question is, and as we know, in any society, this national pride cannot be realized. Society cannot be happy without understanding, without knowing its past, its culture. And past and culture, they ridiculed the Britishers to colonize the India because they understand that that is the fundamental. But the unfortunate thing, if we just see the conversation between Nehru and Galbraith in mid-50s, somewhere Pandit Nehru is referring that I may be the last Englishman to rule India. But unfortunate, that proved wrong. Still somewhere, these Western theories, this Western perspective, we are imitating in our own policy making. Dhananjay Singh, in his address, he was referring to this qualitative versus quantitative research question. And there, in most of this quantitative part, what we are doing as research organization, as universities, Basically, we are involved in proving those hypotheses, those theories, which were propounded in Western context rather than in the Indian context, though we are using Indian data in that. So these are the questions which I'm trying to raise, and why I'm trying to raise is because ultimate objective of a society is not just to raise the material standards, but to raise the satisfaction levels of the society. That's the objective in that. And in that objective, if we just try to look over these basic definitions of the economics, which is my subject, or you say the wealth. Generally, this economics, we try to focus on, we say that the subject matter of the economics is the wealth. And this economics discipline, it's not old enough, not more than 2 centuries enough, that way we try to put it. And in that, various developments are taking place, but the fundamental part, we are focusing on acquiring wealth. In acquiring the wealth, what is the role of the state? That we are focusing on. Of course, wealth is necessary. Wealth is fundamental in that. But for whom we are acquiring this wealth? We are giving the secondary role to the consumer and the producer of this wealth. So in that context, if we see the self-contradictions in this Western thought, is Adam Smith to Marshall, then Marshall is not talking about the wealth per se, but about the good. The good, he says, that what is desirable in the ordinary business of life in the mankind. But again, focusing on the materialism. And as a result of this materialism, just focusing on the wealth. Wealth is necessity. Because as we say that in Arthashastra itself, सुख का मूल धर्म होता है, धर्म का मूल अर्थ होता है, अर्थ का मूल राज्य है. यदि उस principles को we try to understand in that, what we can say is, of course, all these economic principles, these theories, they are time and context specific. They needs to be defined according to the context and time in that. These theories, Indian theories, like we can say this Gitas, there also, or we can say this Sukarniti, Arthashastra, all those principles. And those principles, their applications, where we have applied, what kind of results we are able to get, we have to learn from there. For example, say, in the diplomacy. In diplomacy, we can use, and as a result, in this last 10 years or so, we could raise our standing at the world level. Similarly, during the COVID period, these economic principles, whatever was advocated by this one particular group, that we have not tried to follow, but we try to follow according to our situation. And as a result, we were better able to manage the situation in comparison to rest of the world. So on that context, what I'm trying to say is, this Indian conception, which we are getting from our forefathers, those concepts we need to contextualize, but the fundamentals of that we have to keep intact. Because we can say we have to acquire wealth, but the ways we are acquiring the wealth, there we should not compromise spirituality in that. because this fundamental of the Hindu philosophy is the harmonization. And if the spirituality is not moderating the acquiring of the wealth, what it leads to? It leads to the greed, it leads to the corruption, and that we can observe everywhere in the life. So that's why what I'm trying to say is that we need to contextualize, we need to redefine our concepts given the present circumstances, the terminologies, those we have to use, that is the time specific. There we have to make, we can say, a combination of, given the recent problems, given our past history, given our ancient philosophy, then we try to see how our ancient philosophy can help us in understanding and solving today's problem. And for that purpose, this empirical research, that may play the role, but this empirical research, that should not be like as this Bill Gates says that India is the lab to test his hypothesis or his vaccines. India should not be used as this testing lab for his business, but India should be use this all research. We should do that to understand our Indian problems, raise the hypothesis according to that, and then accordingly we try to see how our this ancient philosophy that can help us in solving today's problem. I stop here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Surendra Kumar sir, for your thoughtful words. May I now call upon Professor Sadananda More, who is a celebrated Marathi writer and former professor and head of Department of Philosophy, University of Pune, to begin with his address. Thank you.
There are 3 honorable Vice Chancellors on the dais, and Chairperson Dr. Shantishri, Professor Surendra Singh, and friends. I will be very brief in my account and trying to highlight just one point. A couple of days earlier, I was going through 4-volume book by Winston Churchill. Churchill in his own right was also a scholar and historian. Now the name of that work of Churchill is History of English-Speaking People. History of English-Speaking People. So I was struck. It was not history of England or history of Britain or even history of British colonies, etc., etc. Straightway he named these 4 volumes as History of English-Speaking People. And his standpoint behind this kind of selection of this kind of title of the book was in a way very simple. He said that whatever the Britishers did, it has something to do with their language. So language must be put at the center, because the language is not simply some means of communication. Language contains a number of important things of that particular society, that particular speaking community, such as their aspirations, their values, and whatnot. So that should be put at the middle or at the center of our history, and then one can be in a position to write the history. So this is very important insight, because sometimes what is forgotten is that social sciences and social sciences definitely are concerned with human action. No doubt about it. But what does it mean when we say that humans act? See, almost every act of human being is coupled with or accompanied by language. That is very peculiarity of human action. Now, if we have the subject matter of social sciences, human actions, interactions, then those actions or interactions are definitely, accompanied by the language they used. So, what I mean is that in our own tradition, language has been given a tremendous importance. Our forefathers have thought of language very, very, very seriously. And we can just begin with Bhartrihari or Panini, and then straightway come to even Nagesh Bhatta or Dr. Bhandakar himself, if we are going to do that. And then we can definitely point out that not only these official grammarians, as we recognize them, but the persons or scholars belonging to other philosophical systems such as Vedanta, Nyaya, Vaisheshikas, all of them have thought, even Sahitya Shastra, all of them have thought very seriously on language. So if we want to understand human action and if we want to rebuild social sciences or human sciences, then we must begin with a fresh look at the language. And then what are the peculiarities of our language that we also must try to see. Then I must bring out to your notice one again important very thing. The thing is that now everybody is speaking of artificial intelligence. And fine, that is perhaps the age now you can say of artificial intelligence. But what is after all artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence in its own right is a kind of language itself. It is language. And therefore we talk of large language model and so forth, etc., etc. And there has been very serious discussions regarding the natural language and language of artificial, that kind of thing, artificial intelligence. And then how to make distinction between them. And whether the artificial intelligence language can take place of human language. Suppose if it takes, there have been now so many things. Today people are talking of artificial intelligence. It has already passed what was called Turing test. That was the acid test or litmus test for artificial intelligence if it comes to the level of human intelligence. Now if it really does so, then there must be some, very, very, very different kind of social sciences. And now here exactly comes the role of language. As I tried to point out, let us just concentrate on this point. See, people now are seeing, people those whose school or whose field of research is called philosophy of language or linguistics, they are trying to pointing out that when we use language, we actually act. And therefore the term comes linguistic act. So we happen to act through language. And when we act, we happen to mean through action. So this is how language and action of human beings are so tied with each other. And therefore, there must be, seriously, there is a need of the linguistic methods, hermeneutics, etc., etc., in social sciences. And definitely, I'm quite certain on this point that we have already thought of, barring Chomsky and all those people from the West, we had already sufficiently thought of our language and language as such. So what I try to emphasize on is very simple point that when we want to rebuild social sciences from our own perspective, Bharatiya perspective, Bharatiya Naya, then we have to, we have to understand what had been said about language by various schools and how that kind of, their presentation of language can be used as a kind of methodology and in social sciences. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sadananda More, sir, for sharing your great knowledge with us. May I now request the chairperson of today's session, Professor Shanti Shri Dulipudi Pandit, the Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Madam, please begin. Thank you.
सगळ्या मान्यवरांना माझी नमस्कार. सबको मेरा नमस्कार. Professor Prasad Joshi, who's the Vice Chancellor of the university we are in, is from Sanskrit and Linguistics. And Professor Surendra Kumarji, Economics, Vasant Shindeji from Archaeology, and Sadananda More ji, though he's known as a Marathi writer, I knew him as a professor of philosophy. So I have here really a holistic 3-4 eminent scholars. So what are the issues they raised? First is decolonize the Bharatiya mind. There are two theories that all of you have to totally demolish or deconstruct. The Aryan invasion theory. Why I'm bringing it, most of you know that Vasant Shindeji has done excellent work at the Raki Gargi excavation, which through carbon dating proved that we are around 8,000 years, am I right, or 10,000, sir? 12,000 years old. So the Aryans did not come in and civilize us. We civilized them. India was an outgoing. Otherwise, you have the Marxists who have written your NCRT books, and JNU plays a major role of what mote panani kota bola. Bluff, lie big. The expert becomes the propagandist. So what do they tell you? That Sanskrit is, elite tongue, only a tongue of the Brahmins. Please go through the quotations of book 7 and book 8, which we have not still changed. And let me warn, if by mistake we lose the central government, they will change it in one day. That is because I know their ecosystem. It is very important. We have the evidence. Please use scholars. And also the Keeladi excavation. You have the other big theory that has to be demolished is the north-south divide. Aryan-Dravidian divide. We are a mixed race. Can you believe I come from Tamil Nadu? Do I look short, dark, black? I don't. We are a mixed race. So please understand, this was brought in by Robert Cardwell. He was a bishop, archbishop. He wanted to convert all of us to Christianity. So for him it would have been useful. But for independent India, the Keeladi, why I'm saying the Keeladi excavation is important, the Tamil Brahmi script is very close to the Indus Valley script. That means either they were contemporary civilizations or there was some give and take between these two river valley civilizations. It is nowhere in our history books. They have, what to say, they have done it. The second is religious demographic tectonic shifts. Please understand, we are having recently a terror attack from the western frontier and the eastern frontier, Bangladesh. Illegal immigration. The border has moved nearly 10 and 20 kilometers in different border states. I challenge you in West Bengal, let any Hindu try to go and build a house on the border between Bangladesh and India. You cannot. So please understand, it is not one way. It is time that the Hindus united, like what Vinayak Damodar Savarkar said. That is why they damage all our icons who have called for the unity of this country. And finally, I would like to also tell you, we have the Economist. Sir, we have to teach economics, as you rightly said, from a holistic pattern. Without politics, there is no economics. Power and money go hand in hand. Where there is power, there is money. So please don't teach in the Western school, your Delhi School of Economics and JNU. Teach as though economics has nothing to do with society or politics or power. But in reality, politicians make policy, not economists. So please understand. And finally, we had Professor Sadananda More, whom I know is a great Marathi writer. I support the new policy we have, that mother tongue first. Mother tongue unites. Then market tongue and career tongue. You choose what you want. The union government or no government should impose any language. People will learn automatically if there is a necessity. And you were right, sir, on artificial intelligence. It is artificial. Human beings are any day better. But artificial intelligence can make us, machines are learning, humans are surfing. Today, students in most universities cannot read, cannot write, and cannot think. This is very, very dangerous. So I want that please use these technologies as instruments. They should not be masters. This is very important, and I think the human being is always supreme. And in India, be multilingual, learn as many languages as you can. Thank you so much. Sagdanna Dhanyavad. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, Professor Shantishri Pandit Madam, for sharing her valuable remarks and insightful thoughts on the today's session. Before I offer formal vote of thanks, I request Honorable Chair shall I announce that this session is over. Now I offer formal vote of thanks on behalf of organizing committee. Professor Shantishri Dhulipudi Pandit Madam, thank you for accepting our invitation and chairing today's important keynote session. Thank you again. Thank you, Professor Vasant Shinde sir. Thank you, Professor Surender Kumar sir, Professor Sadananda More sir, for accepting our invitation and getting ready for giving keynote addresses in this session. So I now finally want to thank the audience. Thank you all of you for your attention and engagement. Your presence and interest in this session are greatly appreciated. So the session is formally now over. Thank you, one and all. So we are now proceeding for the inauguration of exhibition at main building, and immediately after that we are going to gather for lunch at new museum building. Thank you.